Hello, thank you for joining us today and welcome to today's ESHA Research webinar. Today we're looking at the food processor application and the version 11.7 update overview. We're looking at the food processor application today. Food processor nutrition analysis software combines an extensive and meticulously researched food and ingredient database with an uncluttered and easy to use interface for dietary intake analysis, fitness tracking, recipe analysis, menu planning, and reporting. Please note, as with all of our webinars, this webinar is being recorded. So if you need to watch it later, or if you aren't able to join us today, you can always watch it at a later date. All of our past webinars are available on our website as well, both for our food processor and our other applications. And maybe most importantly, submit your questions if you have them as we go. Don't wait to the very end when we start to do our Q&A at the very end of the topic. If you think of a question, submit it. We have people standing by that'll answer the questions as we go. And today, what we're going to cover, we had some database updates to the newest version, some user interface changes, some DRI updates, and we have a new report for our menu plan. And then we'll do a little bit of Q&A depending on how many questions we've got. We'll cover all that. With that, I'm going to hand it over to our food processor expert, Katie, who is going to take away this topic.
With every update, we include new foods and ingredients, update existing items, and remove discontinued foods from the ESHA database. This update includes new brands, restaurant information, and commercial ingredients. We continue to update as many foods and ingredients as possible within each update cycle. Many new foods report nutrients per the FDA 2016 labels, which means we see more and more data for nutrients like added sugars, vitamin D, potassium, and dietary fiber based on the 2016 FDA definition. The update of the database is an ongoing process, and the update to 2016 label data will occur over some time as more and more manufacturers provide updated information. We have also added a group for the USDA Standard Reference Database. All USDA foods will now be associated with that group to help you sort and filter searches. We've also had some user interface changes such as My Preferences, Advanced Search, Nutrients to View sets, and additional minor changes. We'll go through them now. The Preferences button on the ribbon has been renamed as My Preferences. Each cloud login and each individual on local installations has the capability to select specific settings when working with Food Processor, so you can customize, display, and other options as your own. Examples of My Preferences are setting search result limits, decimal precision, groups to exclude from searches, and many others. The More search has been renamed as the Advanced Search. The Advanced Search is used to filter searches by food groups, sections of the database, or any groups that you may have added. In renaming the Advanced Search button name, some of the other buttons were also rearranged. You can see the slight differences here between the 11.7 and the 11.6 versions. The Advanced Search now resides immediately below the search field. In version 11.7, the Edit Recipe button that used to be located directly below the search field is no longer there. You can use the Edit Recipe button up in the ribbon that's been there all along. The Nutrients to View has been a basic set of options since very early versions of the software. If you have not yet worked with the Nutrients to View, familiarizing yourself with these options may prove to be very helpful. We tend to receive a fair number of questions that relate to these settings. When you first work with the food processor, you will see the food processor default set of nutrients, which is about 60 nutrients or so. You may want to use a different set, or you may want to create your own custom set of nutrients that you repeatedly populate when adding new ingredients or when viewing reports, like the multi-column report, the bar graph report, or the spreadsheet report. With version 11.7, we have renamed, reorganized, and introduced new sets to the Nutrients to View. As always, you see the Modify option at the top of the list, which allows you to edit or create your own custom sets of Nutrients to View. Sets that you have already added and those that you add moving forward will be listed first and alphabetically in this view. In March 2019, the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine released a report of updated DRIs for sodium and potassium. The DRIs, or the Dietary Reference Intakes, consist of nutrient recommendations, adequate intake levels, and upper tolerances for specific age groups. These are used to base our federal health standards and help shape the daily values that are used to calculate the percent DV in labeling. Sodium and potassium DRIs were updated for several age groups. For sodium, some of the existing AIs were confirmed by the report, some were decreased, and some increased. For sodium, all AIs were decreased. Therefore, the amounts of potassium that is deemed adequate for healthy individuals was lowered across the board. In food processor, you see the DRIs when working with person records and view the recommendations or any reports that list references to the recommendations, like the multi-column and the bar graph reports. Within a recipe or menu plan, you can use the Compare To option in the settings and choose a DRI profile to compare your recipe or menu plan analysis to. This comparison may be especially useful when your goal is to address the dietary needs of a specific age group. These DRI revisions did not affect the current labeling standards, so you won't see any changes to percent DVs on label reports due to these updates. Now I'm going to get into the software. So this is our food processor software application. We are currently on version 11.7, and you can view what version you are on by clicking on this blue About section in the Home tab. If you are not currently on version 11.7, please contact sales and we can help you update your database. And if you are already in our cloud hosted environment, you will currently be running version 11.7. Also, as noted in the earlier slides, the preferences is now My Preferences. This is really a place to make your software your own. You can change your workspace view. You can change the decimal places. You can also change some of the common sections are adding notes to your person, recipe, and menu plan, and you can also change your search limits. The food list entry columns is used when you're entering ingredients and foods within a recipe, person, or menu plan. So for example, if you wanted to add any of these fields, just check the box. And then we also have our nutrient columns. So if you want to look at specific nutrients, you can do edit and then add any of the nutrients you want using these blue arrows. And then this is also a place where you can change your reporting options. So font size, your fonts, your margins. Also, if you want to add a header or footer, you can add all of that all within My Preferences. So now we're going to look at a new feature within the food processor. So within the basic food processor application, you can add a new ingredient if our database does not already have that ingredient. You can create and analyze recipes, and you can also create a person. And this is if you have a specific person and you want to do a diet recall or create a menu plan to create that person's specific needs. We also have this additional module called the menu planning module, which is at additional cost. So if you see this grayed out, that means you do not currently own the menu plan. And if you are interested, please contact sales and we can help you out with that. But this is for creating cycle menu plans, so select and non-select cycle menu plans. And then you can compare those menu plans against built-in DRI values. So I'm going to open up a menu plan that I've already created. And I'm just going to do my non-select menu plan to start. And you'll see the interface is going to be slightly different than what you've been working with if you've been working under a person and creating a menu plan as well as a recipe. So you can see a slightly different screen than what you've been working with. So to add days, that's going to be located up on this menu plan ribbon. So you can click on a day, you can add multiple days at a time, and you can just add single days. So I'm within my day one, and you can see which day I'm referring to listed right here. And you can also see, which mentioned, this used to be a more search. It is now the advanced search. So you can just enter in your ingredient within the search button, or you can search using our advanced search. And you can search by certain characteristics. So if you're looking for a specific item that's dairy-free, gluten-free, kosher, etc., you can check a characteristic. And you can also search by these databases. So as noted, we created a USDA standard reference database. So if you just want to select items that fall in that database, then you can choose it there. We also have the Canadian nutrient file and many others. So I'm going to search my USDA database, and I am going to look for an apple. You can see all of the items that were populated from my product and supplier came from the USDA. And then you can see I have many options. So if I want sliced options, different sizes of apples, you can choose your specific ingredient. I want my apple, medium apple. So I select my apple, and then I'll put in my quantity and measure, and then I choose my meal. So I want this to be my morning snack. And then this is a new option within the menu plan as well. So we have collections. These are all built in, and you can also add your own. So I'm going to classify this option as my fruit. And then I select, and then you can see I added my fruit to my day. Next, I'm going to go to my day 2. And you can see I don't have a beverage within my day 2. And we have this food pick list. So this is also specific to the menu plan. And this is very helpful if you've used common items. So for example, you won't have to search the database over. You can just simply click. So if I wanted to add coffee to my breakfast, I can double click and it adds it over. And you can see I have my medium coffee under my beverages in my breakfast item. Next, to create cycles, you go to the cycle. So after I've created all of my days that I want to add, I can go to my cycle, and you can also change the names of cycles by doing the modify cycle or delete existing cycles. I'm just going to go to my cycle 1. And then I'm going to collapse all these. Any day that I've created is going to be listed right over on this screen. And then if I want to have, so right now, I currently just have day 1 through 4. I want to add my day 5. I'm going to pull this over, and then you can see it added my day 5. But I did change these. I previously changed the names of these days. So you can change your day 5. I want my day 5 to say Friday. So I'm just going to click on my day 5. If you want, you can choose any calendar day, or you can write it in. So I want this day to be named Friday. So I've now added my Friday day to my cycle menu plan. Before I get to the reporting section, you're going to want to choose a profile to compare your report to. So I'm going to go my edit menu plan, compare to, and then you can see I can select any DRI profile, which is built into the software, of different genders and ages. So I'm just going to choose a US label adult. Then I press OK. And then when I go to my report section, you can choose to just look at a single day. So that's going to be my day reports. So if you just wanted to look at a specific day, day 1, day 2, day 3, etc., you're going to want to look at the day report. But I want to look at my cycle report and see which will be an average. But the spreadsheet report, you will be able to look at the specific nutrition information for each individual day. So I'm just going to collapse all this so we can look at, just break it down. So here's my cycle average right at the bottom, and then here's my %DV. And then when you open up a day, you can look at nutrition information for a single day, which is listed right here at the bottom. I can open it up and look at my meals. I can see my nutrition totals for just my breakfast, and then you can open it up even more. So you could look at just my beverage and then as well as my entree. If you don't want these collections to be shown, you can also deselect some of these boxes so you can really customize your reports. So for example, I'm just going to unclick my collections, and you can see that my beverages and my entree fields will go away, and I'll just be looking at my breakfast total. So this is a very detailed report. And one thing I do want to note is that this double dash is an unknown value. So you really want to be aware of that when you're looking at your totals. The 0 is a true 0, and again, the double dash is an unknown. So you would have to contact the manufacturer or supplier and fill that in if you do believe that there is added sugar in your, for this specific example, added sugar in your orange juice. And then I go to my multi-column report. So this is, again, the average of my menu plan, and I can look at the value. So here's what my menu plan is, here's what's recommended, and then my percent recommendations. And then this one helps when we get to our next report, which you can look at the daily totals. So you can see quickly for this meal plan, I have 154% of my recommendations, which is too high for my cholesterol, which might be a concern. So then you can go to the single nutrient report, and I'm going to look at my single nutrient, and you can see where that's coming from. So again, I'm going to collapse this so we can look through each day, and then I'm going to choose which nutrient you're interested in. For my example, it was cholesterol, so you just click on cholesterol, and then you can see where that's coming from. So I'm going to open up all my days, and you can see the most day for my cholesterol is coming from my Tuesday at almost double of what they should be consuming. And then you can open up each item and see where my cholesterol is coming from within this day. And you can quickly see that 160% is coming from my veggie omelet with hash browns, and you can see the cholesterol total right here. So then from there, you can modify your meal plan accordingly so it better meets the standards. Moving on to the next graph, we have the bar graph report. And this is similar to your multi-column report, but it just adds a visual. So here's my recommendations at this line over here, and then I have my value recommendations and my percent recommendations. Next, we have where our total source of calories are coming from, so protein, carbs, fat, and alcohol, as well as where my source of fats are coming from in a pie graph report, as well as a bar graph report. And then this next report is a new report that you will see if you currently have the menu plan. And this is our calendar view. So we wanted to create a report that you can easily print out on a one-pager, which you can add up to 7 days at a time. So right now I only have 5, but it does hold up to 7 days. And then you can choose which meals. So they'll all fit on a single page that you can print out at the end. Oops. There we go. And then you can choose. So this is for my meal plan that I wanted to add. But if you wanted to look at just a specific, so just say you wanted your lunch menu plan, then you can uncheck some of these boxes. So for example, I'm just going to take off breakfast. So uncheck the box. And then my breakfast won't be shown in my menu plan. Same goes for these titles. So if you don't want these titles, so if you've added your collections to your menu plan, and if you don't want them to show, then you can simply uncheck the titles box. And you can see my titles such as beverage and entree and fruits go away. And then also, if you wanted to not show some items within the menu plan, so for example, if you didn't want to show beverages because they may be able to select different beverages, you can uncheck that beverages box and it will take off my beverages and that will no longer be listed on my menu plan. Also, another thing that you might notice within this menu plan is that for this apple that I added, it is not a very user-friendly name to have on a menu plan. So you will need to go through your ingredients and recipe items, and you will need to add a common name to your ingredients of what you want to show on your menu plan. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to shut down some of these reports. I'm going to go back to my menu plan, and we can notice my apple right here by simply, and I'm within a cycle, clicking on my day one. That will actually take me to my day one. So if you forget something and you need to add something, that's just a quick way instead of navigating through this ribbon. And then I want to add my common name. So to do that, I'm going to right mouse click on my item. I'm going to open my item, and I'm going to populate this field. So I just want this to say apple. And then from there, I have added my apple. I am going to save my ingredient. And then when I go back to my menu plan, you'll see my apple has changed. And then from here you can print. So I'm going to show you what it looks like just to print your menu plan. So you can print to PDF, and I'm just going to show you the print preview right here. You can quickly see that we have a nice one-page menu plan that you can print out. And again, it's only available in a landscape format. We don't have a portrait format, but it is available as a landscape. And if you have multiple days, then it will fit to be a one-pager. And that concludes going through the menu plan. So I'm going to go to Ben for some Q and A.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Katie, for the overview. It's a lot of great information, not just on the update, but some additional pieces that are very helpful pieces of information as well. Before we get into some of the questions, if you have any questions afterwards, you can call our sales team, our support team, our consulting services team. The phone number is there, and the email addresses are there as well if you want to contact any of those teams. We also have a lot of helpful resources on our website, our blog, our e-newsletter. Sign up for those to get those updates as well. A few of these questions we may have addressed, but we'll maybe reiterate some of the important pieces here. Our first question, can I add my own collection to a menu plan?
Yes, good question. And I will show you where to do that. So going back to our software, you can add your own collection by going to the database tab. There we go, by the database tab, and then modify, and then we have your menu collections. So you can just add your collection right here by doing new. You can also delete any of the collections that you don't want within the software, and you can edit the names.
All right, perfect. Our next question, how do I add a cost to my menu plan?
You can add a cost to your menu plan in the ingredient level. So we'll go back to our ingredient. So I am in my menu plan right now, and if I wanted to add a cost, I'm going to right mouse click, I'm going to open my item, and then go to cost. And I've already, this will not be populated. I, for this specific ingredient, have already added a cost, but to add the cost, you'll do edit and you'll add in your own cost. And since cost is always changing, that's something that you can create a spreadsheet and use another tool called Eshaport to automatically populate your costs. But again, this will be blank. So you'll add in your cost, and then to show that cost, that's where we can go back to my preferences and make sure that you have the button under General, Show Cost checked, and then you can also add it in your nutrients to view, so you can view it in your reporting section, which it would show all of your totals. Sorry about that. And your nutrients to view by doing modify, and then say you want this data set and add cost, you can do edit, And cost is going to be at the end of this section under other nutrients, and you can simply click on cost and move it over so then you can see cost in your reporting section. And you can also, which I'm just going to go back to my menu plan, you can show cost on this home screen, again by the My Preferences, food list entry, and show my cost. And you can see cost is populated right here.
Perfect. We had two questions that are kind of the same question. How many days can I have in my printable menu plan? And then also the other question was, is there a limit to the number of days in a menu plan just overall in general? I know there's the report, and then there's also the menu plan overall. So you can maybe answer that one with kind of both those questions.
Perfect. So the printable menu plan, going back to our reports, this can be up to 7 days. So you can have less, if you have 3 days, or you can have 7 days. It will all print on a one-pager. As far as doing a menu plan, you can create an unlimited number of days. You can just keep adding the days here, as well as in the cycle. You can add, so say, you had a whole month that you wanted and your days repeated. You can go back to your cycle and you can just keep adding the days by just double clicking. So as many days as you need, and also within the cycle menu plan. And the reporting section will show all the days that are within your menu plan cycle.
All right, thank you so much for that one. You mentioned this one before, and I'll maybe just reiterate kind of what the answer was. How do I change the name of my ingredients to a more user-friendly name? And that was just going to be the common name inside of the ingredient. So if you open up the ingredient, you can edit the common name field in that general or ingredient tab in the ingredient. So that was one of the questions that we had. I know you had already kind of gone over that one though. Our next question, we have just a couple more here. How do I transfer my current software to the cloud?
You can transfer your current software to the cloud by contacting sales, and we can also help if you have any existing data within your software that you would like transferred. We can definitely help assist with that.
Perfect. We had another question here. We had a couple questions about this topic overall, and I'll do a quick answer before you kind of go a little more in depth with it. Why are there so many fiber fields, and which one do I use? We also had just a question of, can you dive deeper into fiber? We do have a few deep dives into fiber on our website. So if you go to the tutorials and our past webinars, we do have some webinars that go into half hour, 45-minute long deep dive conversation into fiber, what it looks like for food manufacturers, what that definition is from the FDA. So we do have that, but Katie, I'll let you kind of dive a little bit into that that question as well.
Excellent, and I'll show you the fiber fields. I'm just going to go back to the software and we'll look at our ingredient, and it's in the nutrients. So I want to go to my fiber field. Okay, so you can see all my different fiber fields right here, and you'll see some of them are filled in, some have missing values. In the food processor, you'll want to especially be aware of the total dietary fiber in terms of the total dietary fiber field and the dietary fiber 2016 field. Total dietary fiber is the field that was used to report dietary fiber in general and for US 1990 labeling purposes. This is the field reported in the USDA database for the Canadian Nutrient File, FNDDS foods, and many others at this time. Total dietary fiber will continue to be populated for some time. Dietary fiber 2016 right here is the field that is used to represent the US 2016 label data for dietary fiber. At this time, about 50% of the foods and ingredients in the ESHA database report dietary fiber 2016 data. This will continue to increase as more food manufacturers and suppliers report data for US 2016 labels. Where it can be discerned is ESHA has populated both total dietary fiber and dietary fiber 2016 fields, and we will continue to populate both fields where this can be determined by the nature of the food or by ingredient list. Note that some foods will no longer report total dietary fiber if the source of the data reports information in the 2016 label format, and that's that 2016 that we're on right now, and no additional detail is available to determine the total dietary fiber value.
Perfect. And I think as a lot of you can tell, it is a fairly complicated, it's not just an easy answer, it's a very complicated question. So I definitely recommend if you're looking for answers on that you watch those past webinars that do that deep dive into dietary fiber, because it's a big piece of the new regulations from the FDA for food labeling. And one last question here, is there a report in the menu plan that you can do a weekly average or an average of the days that you want to see inside of the menu plan?
Yes, so we can go back, and that is so going back to our reports, that's when you're going to be looking in we're in ingredient, I'm going to shut that down. So we're back in our menu plan in the reports. Here's our day reports. So that's if you wanted to look at a single day, and then our cycle reports. So that's going to be the days that are being shown in any cycle that you choose. So when we're in our cycle, whatever days are in the cycle, so right now we're looking at our cycle 1, you could even have additional cycles. So create a second cycle, which I'll do right now. We can add a new cycle. So we technically be on our cycle 2, which would have a clean screen. And then you can again add your days. I'll just add a couple days. And then when you go to the report section, right now we're looking at our cycle 2. So that's where you would know that that's that spreadsheet report where you can just look at the totals and the averages. So again, by the single day, and then the averages at the bottom. And then if you just want to look at the average totals, that's going to be that multi-column report.
Perfect, thank you so much. I think that's the last question that we're going to be able to get to today. I know there were a lot of questions, especially towards the end there. If it's a question that we weren't able to get to, certainly follow up with our support team or our nutrition team, or if it's about account management, certainly our sales team. If you want to convert to the cloud, anything like that, let us know. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great day.